Hello everyone, welcome back to the Kukali Bushcraft channel. Okay, so I'm indoors again today. I've had a couple of requests. I've had people wanting to know how I sharpen my knives. So I'm going to do a little video. And I'm aware that people have got slightly different ways of doing it. And this is how I sharpen my knives. You don't necessarily have to do exactly what I do. I'd recommend maybe if you want to learn to sharpen a knife, as if you watch a couple of other videos, there's different techniques. People have different kinds of sharpening stones. I did do a video a little while ago actually about using sandpaper glued to a board. So yeah, that's you don't really need to be spending a lot of money on sharpening stones. But yeah, so I'm in the UK at the moment, so this is a UK legal folding knife, having a blade of less than 75 millimeters, and yeah, that's pretty bad. Yeah, that's it's kind of cutting. It's also quite thick paper, which actually makes it easier, I think. But yeah, that's not cutting paper, so that's not very sharp. I also have this. I filmed a video yesterday with this. I started to put an edge on it, but didn't quite finish. Yeah, so that's just tearing. So that's really not very sharp. So, what else do we got? Jensen Mora. Okay, we'll not do that one. That's pretty good, brother. Yeah, that's fine. I'm just trying to establish which one of these is actually the it's actually the dullest. Cutting paper like this, by the way, is not very good for the edge of your knife. It will dull your knife quite quickly. Okay, so we'll go with the brother. So, the CRKT, Columbia River Knife and Tool Company. This has got a hollow grind. So this is concaved because that's the shape of the whale. And yeah, I'm keeping this pretty basic because I think most experienced bushcrafters have already got their own methods of sharpening. But yeah, so this has a concavity and it has a secondary bevel there, which makes it quite difficult to sharpen. I think also in my pocket I've got lots of knives. Can't find the one I'm looking for. Yeah, what I was looking for, I've got a little folding knife by Anglo Arms. And Anglo Arms is a company that's pretty much competing with Mora for with the prices. They're really cheap, and the thing is, some of them have a flat grind, but most of them have got a hollow grind. And I really think, as if you want a good bushcraft knife, and especially as if you're a beginner, then you want a Scandi grind. like on this motor. So the difference being, with this, you've got your primary bevel, which in this case is a concavity, and then you've got the secondary bevel. And this is a 0 grind Scandi, and so you only have one bevel and it's large. So with it being large, it means that it's much easier to get the angle right, because you're laying the knife down on your sharpening stone and you're trying to get that angle and you can feel it. Whereas as if it's tiny, then you can't feel the right angle. So as if you're a beginner, for sharpening, Scandi grind knives are definitely the way to go. You do get some which have got a Scandi grind which have a micro bevel, and the differences between Scandi grind and sabre grind isn't necessarily something we need to be arguing about, because where you draw the line is a sabre grind is a flat grind, the same as a Scandi grind, but usually with a secondary bevel, and usually with the bevel going much higher on the knife. So this Strava, this comes with a micro bevel, so it's a Scandi grind with a tiny secondary bevel on the edge. And what I do when I get a knife like this is I sharpen the primary bevel quite a lot, and then maybe the secondary bevel I'll just go over slightly with the strop, or with a really fine stone, and I'll barely, in that way, very quickly, you only have one bevel. This grind looks really high, partly because it's thick, and I believe that's about 24 degrees, that angle, which is Scandi grind generally between 24 and 30. So anyway, let's have a look at some of the tools. So I've got two different field kits here, and when I say field kits, I used to every so often like to sharpen my knives in the workshop, or in some kind of a workshop setting with an oil stone and a vise, because I used to find that was the only way that I could get the angle, not the angle, the only way I could get the grind flat, which it doesn't need to be perfectly flat, it can be slightly convexed, but I think as my sharpening skills have increased, I really don't feel the need to use anything more than what's in these little field kits. So this is a bit of a tatty looking thing. It's a bit embarrassing, it's been on a video before. But in here I've got a diamond file, and all this stuff is all available really pretty cheaply. I mean, you don't need to spend, lots of money on the most expensive Japanese waterstones that you can get. Diamond files are cheap, and if you want to use sandpaper, that's even cheaper. But that's 360 grit on one side and 600 grit on the other. And I don't put any kind of lubricant on there. And sorry, the dogs are distracting me a little bit there. Cut that bit out. Yeah, so we got 600 and 350. So this I will rinse off every so often. When I'm actually using it, I don't put any water on, I don't put any oil on. So what else we got? In here we've got a strop. So that's just a bit of leather glued to a bit of plywood. And what I use with that is Autosol. I like this stuff because it's readily available. You can just walk into a petrol station anywhere and just pick a tube up. And once you've used one compound on your strop, you don't want to go back to using another. So that's what's in that kit. In this kit, a little bit different. Got really coarse diamond file. One thing with buying these things, do check on the grit. This is from B&Q, from a hardware store in the UK, and this is about all they've got, and it's seriously coarse, and it doesn't actually say on it, you know, it doesn't say anything. This tells you 600, 360. Yeah, also, yeah, in my wallet. In my wallet, I carry a little tiny Mora diamond file, just for touching up any damage. That also is quite coarse. So yeah, as if you're using a strop, you want to go down to about 600 grit, I'd say. I think we have slightly different grit systems in Europe and in the United States, but I think they're quite close actually. So yeah, I'd go down to 600 and then use a strop. If you don't have a strop, I think you probably want to go down to about 1000 grit, something like that. But yeah, here I've got a slightly nicer strop. With that was made by a friend of mine, Simon from Simon Outdoors, and I have honing paste. Yeah, this is called green manzana or something. So yeah, there's lots of different honing compounds that you can buy for your strops. You can also use toothpaste. Yeah, another strop. That's a bit of birch polypore that's just glued to a piece of wood. So birch polypore, it's a fungus. And here we've got a little tiny Opinel sharpening stone. So really, something like this is all you really need to carry, I think. You know, as if you have something a bit better at home in the field, something like this will be absolutely fine. Right, so Scandi grind. Which one were we gonna do? Okay, so we'll do the brother. Right, so with this, the Opinel one, I'll spit on it. And yeah, some kind of, you don't have to spit on it, you can use water. So what I'm going to do is small circles down one side and down the other side, and what I'm doing is I'm laying that flat on that bevel. So this is why Scandi grinds are so easy, because you can feel the bevel. You can really feel what you're doing. Okay, So the next step, yeah, okay, that's not ready for the next step, but you don't want to watch me doing that for half an hour, do you? So yeah, we'll put a little bit of compound on this. If it's already got some compound on from last time, you don't necessarily need to add any. But yeah, just a little bit of auto sol. Rub it in. I have used T-cut as well in the past. That works well. I think any kind of metal polish. So yeah, so this time I'm gonna work away from the cutting edge. So yeah, like that, and away. So as if you go that way, you're running the risk of cutting in. And yeah, this isn't the way that people generally show you to do this. This is my way. But what I like to do is, instead of moving the knife, I move the strop. Like that. So there's probably going to be people who'll tell me that's incorrect and that's not the way you should do it, because it's not the way it's generally shown. But it's the way that I do it, and it works for me. So and what I'll quite often do is I'll count. So I'll do 50 strops going in one direction, 50 strops going in the other direction. Then I'll go down to 20, 20, 10, 2, then 1, and also I'll, if I've got a double-sided strop, I'll turn it around. So once I've got lots of polish everywhere, you know, just to remove it a little. So the key thing you want to be remembering is to always work to the manufacturer's angle. Yeah, you don't want to be changing that. And as if you do have a secondary bevel that you want to get rid of on a Scandi grind, that does complicate it a little bit, but it just means doing the majority of the work on your primary bevel, and then the secondary bevel, just giving it a little bit of a touch up each time. It'll disappear quite quickly. Yeah, so I mean, I don't really... It looks like quite a nice shiny. Well, you want some mirror polish on these. It should be looking like a mirror, and I think that already, it was looking a little bit scratched. The scratching was only really cosmetic. It was actually already pretty sharp. But at first, you're working to bring the point, yeah, to bring the angle up from something like that to something like that, and then you working on polishing the surface off, making sure that there's no kind of burrs, as if you can sometimes feel with badly sharpened knives that as if you run your thumb away like that, away from the cutting edge, don't hurt yourself, you can feel that there's a little bit of a ridge there. But yeah, this is pretty good now. It's quite shiny, no burring. I feel this video's going on for a little bit, so I hope you're not getting bored, but yeah. Oh, it's hanging up there a little bit. What's going on there? Yeah, so we're going to call that good. Right, so this is more of a challenge. Compound grind. I always call a hollow grind a compound grind. I've done that before in a video. It's a hollow grind. Yeah, so it's exactly the same again. I'm just going to tilt that. So from this angle I can pretty much see the angle that I want to go to. And then it's just a matter of keeping that angle constant. And so this has not actually been sharpened that often. So I think I might have just touched it up once or twice, but yeah, this is definitely in need of some more attention. Well, I'll get back to you with that one. So with a knife of this size, I don't really have to do the small circles. What I can do is I can just work like that. So using going down the whole length of the knife. Obviously with a longer blade it's harder to do that, and to get it even it's easier to do the little circles. But with this one I'm just going to keep on going like that, and maybe I'm going to use this diamond file because it's a bit coarser. 600, 360, 360. So just in case any of you don't know, it's the lower the number, the coarser the grit. It's basically how many particles you've got on a certain area. So as if you've got a grit of 1, then you've got one big lump. I'm sure most of you know that, but any of you that didn't, now you do. So I'm starting off with 360, a lower number. Okay, we're using the Posh Strop this time. So I'm just going to rub a little bit of this into the strop. Okay, so the issue I'm going to have with this, obviously it's a UK legal folder, which means it's dangerous. So I've got to work in that direction, and what worries me is if I kind of catch this and, you know, because you're kind of pushing it in the direction that it doesn't, well, that it shouldn't ought to be pushed. With this particular knife, yeah, this is one of the reasons why I like this so much. You've got this little choil here, and your finger is, yeah, that can't actually physically close while your finger's there. So it's actually quite safe, this one, but yeah, I mean, I keep my finger there to support the edge a little bit, and yeah, anything that's got no lock, you've got to be a little bit careful with always. Okay, so I believe this should be good now. I'm still struggling a bit. No, that's good. Okay, summary. Keep your angle constant. So between about 20, 22, 23 and 30 degrees should be about right. But yeah, just copy what the manufacturer has done. And yeah, go down to about 600 grit. finish with a strop as if you can. There's a whole load of things you can use for the strop. I have got another video on that. I'll actually get a playlist together. I've got a couple of sharpening videos now. So yeah, strop your knife, and unless you really know what you're doing, avoid machinery. I'll occasionally use a linisher, a belt sander, or I have used angle grinders in the past, but that's for reprofiling. That's when you've battened through a nail or something stupid like that. Bench grinders, I've seen more tools ruined by bench grinders than anything else. They're terrible, especially as if you're just sharpening a knife. You know, bench grinder, it's okay for sharpening a spade or something. Obviously, if you pay a lot of money for a Tormek or a big grinding wheel, it's that's made for the purpose, that's different. I'm talking about your bog standard workshop bench grinder. Yeah, I mean, I've seen people before now. They think they can sharpen with a bench grinder, but they've got like a tiny thin little knife because they've taken so much material off, and it's really not very sharp. You know, you see this time and time again, and you also see knives that have been really completely destroyed. You know, yeah, unless you really know what you're doing, stay away from machinery. It's much better to learn sharpening by hand. Okay, so thanks very much for watching. I hope this has been helpful for some of you, and yeah, sorry if it's been a bit long. Yeah, there's actually quite a lot of information. Well, thanks for watching. Please give us a thumbs up, or as if you didn't like it, give us a thumbs down. And yeah, thanks for joining me. I'll see you again soon for another video. Bye for now.